I want you to tell me a little bit more about how Earth changed its mind 10 to 15 years ago and there's no cap on it. What happened here? What was this decision?
Yeah, so, it wasn't really a decision. I think things just happened because there's only consciousness in the end of the day. And consciousness is eternal and it's infinite. There's no beginning and there's no end. That's a paradox because in this reality, we're just an aspect of that consciousness and we get to experience all of that in a different way, very limited with time, for example. Overall consciousness doesn't have that. So it's just, things are just progressing and happening. And it was just time for Earth to just get to the next level, right? It was just a development stage, basically. But the same thing is happening with humanity right now. And, a lot of people are very concerned about the bad things that are happening and everything is so terrible. Well, it may look terrible, but it's all a process, right? So if I have a wound somewhere, it hurts. And then in the healing process, at some point, there's a point where the wound looks super ugly. It's probably the ugliest it's ever looked, but it's the point of where it really heals, and afterwards it's really healed. So that is where we're at right now as humanity. And yeah, Earth has just fulfilled that already. So it's already there. So there's no boundaries anymore as far as that goes. And, I couldn't tell you anything other than it was just time for it to happen.
Is it related to the Schumann frequency, the Schumann resonance?
Well, I think the Schumann resonance is related to that. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I would be saying.
And the solar storms as well that we're seeing?
Yeah, in our time right now, the quote unquote awakening or expansion of consciousness that is happening, the moving into the age of knowing out of the so-called Kali Yuga, those are all, that is all happening. And these things are happening because it's all happening. Uh-huh. That makes sense, right? So we need these triggers in order to also react and get to a different level. So with these solar storms that people are so concerned about, from a consciousness perspective, it's amazing. It's amazing what's coming there as a blast. Mm-hmm. Some people may not want that more people wake up, but, if you're all about, waking up and development, then that's a good thing.
Do you think it's going to be a question of whether humanity will make it or not on this new planet?
That's not a question for me. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are not, quote unquote, going to make it. It's just very obvious. Actually, we have the scissor effect. We have just one part actually being very stuck in the 3D world. And, they're not really getting out of it. And they don't, it's free will, right? So the universe works based on free will. So no one is going to be forced to do anything, and you can never force truly anyone to do anything. And the other part is, ascending, and that's one word you could use, but it's literally moving into the next level, into the next dimension. And it's already happening. You can notice it today, even maybe not in an extreme final state, but you can talk to someone that has the same experiences, reads the same things and looks at the same things, but has a completely different understanding of things. And they think of the world as, it's just all this narrative and it's all happening just because of this and because of that. And you're looking at it that's an interesting point of view, but you're looking from this overall perspective. You're like, oh my God, is that small? That point of view, is that so small? You don't see anything of what's actually happening, but that's just how it is. When they live still in our world, but it's two different perceptions.
It's different. Yeah, it's different dimensions. I feel in my lifetime, I first really noticed it in 2012. I was very, very deep into my yoga practice, but I was the only kind of spiritual person around me. I did not know one other person. But that's how I kind of started to go online and be like, there's one person over there in this part and then one person there. Then obviously 2020, huge, just the way everyone responded to it. And then you could kind of just feel levels of consciousness. And I even did a podcast episode here about the great split that was happening.
Yeah. And
I feel that awoken a lot of people, and then kind of the aftermath of seeing what was true and what was not, and the fear agendas. And now I feel this year, of 2024, which in the Gene Keys, which that book was written in the 80s and it's based on the I Ching, which is ancient Chinese astrology, talks about this huge shift that's going to happen between 2020 to 2027, moving in from that Kali Yuga, as they say, Kali Yuga, era of darkness, to Sat Yuga, era of light. And they say 2020 is going to be the beginning. 2024 will be the apex of it, which I feel we're seeing with this war happening and lack of helping, but also realizing all the systems involved. And it's just eye-opening for people because wars have been happening the whole time. We just haven't noticed it. And then they say from 2024 to 2027, it's going to be starting to build this new world. And then 2027, we're going to see the very beginning of it. Now, in Vedic astrology, some say we're in the golden era. Some say we're not going to experience it in this lifetime. We don't really know like the date. But I think we're all feeling it. And I know I started having these reoccurring dreams around 2020 that there would be on this earth, and this may be an extreme version. I don't know how accurate this is, so don't quote me on it, but that there will be two different civilizations on this planet. And there will be those of us who come back into harmony with the earth. We are living in nature, drinking spring water, living in community again, raising children together, dancing to the drum beats. But the mainstream society is actually not meant to know about us. They will hide us from people. The mainstream society will pretty much be Matrix, which I actually tried a little Matrix outfit for today because we were talking about quantum healing, but I might wear this in Lemuria. But it will be like everything that comes to your pod, like you're fed out of an IV pretty much, which I mean, and there's beauties to these technologies, but in this extreme, it's you don't have friends, you don't enjoy food, you don't enjoy sex, you don't enjoy music, you don't enjoy everything, but it's like catered to exactly what you want, which we're seeing right now. Like in Japan, people are preferring AI girlfriends to real emotional women, and now we're seeing just VR everything. You could why travel to the pyramids when you can go to it with VR? It's like, well, the frequency of the pyramids is not going to be there it's not watching it on YouTube makes me go there, but I think a lot of people, I think they're purposely making travel harder. I'm noticing that since 2020, it's so much harder to bags, this and that. Like, I feel like they're making it so you don't want to do these things anymore. So you just stay home and just get everything delivered to your door. And it's tempting, Uber Eats, Amazon, all of these things, it makes you so isolated and you have this illusion that it's more comforting, AKA more happiness, but it's not. It's making us miserable to eat whatever you want by yourself and everyone has their own individualized plastic meal. And so we're already in this shift and it's just getting more and more. It's just a question, which I don't know what your perspective is like right now, we are people who are living in both. We are in technology and we're earth beings, but will it get to this point that we have to if we want to be part of this, we got to get 30 vaccines every day and the other people don't? I'm curious, how long will we be able to be in both?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a great question. Yeah. I don't think I can answer that, to be honest. I also
just my existential questions. Yeah.
I don't have a vision for when that will be the case. I just know that in general, everything is possible. And that means also for us, I don't think that will be hidden or something like that. I actually think that we will have the chance to have it all. And with all, I don't mean that we would have this other part that you described, because that's not really what resonates with us, right? Because in the end of the day, you can only receive and experience what resonates with you. And if the inside is resonating in beauty and in love and in joy and all of that, you couldn't even have in your life these constraining, lifeless things, basically. So yeah, I see this split, but I don't see how it's going to play out. And I also think there's it's still very dynamic. I don't think it's set in stone. And I would question everyone that would say it's exactly going to be like this and at that time, because I don't think at this point you can actually see that.
Yeah. And I think
we
timelines
shape
are
it.
shifting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we shape it, and it takes everyone to shape it for themselves, because no one is going to do the work for you. But then again, it's adding up, because if many are doing the work, it's going to help the collective as well.
And I feel we actually witnessed timelines shift with 2020.
Yeah.
So many people awoken that I don't think it went as originally planned, and a lot of people were like, no, the math isn't mathing right now. Like, and now even the CDC is going back and saying a lot of the things that they issued were untrue and not scientifically backed. And it's interesting, though, because at that time, if you said that, you were a conspiracy theorist, you were canceled, you were taken off the internet, and now it's like quietly recognized. But then life is you're just kind of meant to move on. But I do feel people woke up so much that they kind of just like jumped ship.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, then it's a great opportunity when these things happen for all of us and everyone that isn't there yet to really find the truth in our hearts. Because for every topic, you find this message and the opposite message. And, no, this is true. No, that is true. The Democrats are the best. The Republicans are whatever. You always have to choose a side. And I mean, why don't you just go in your heart and just feel? And that's one of those practices, because I think you will be insane